While fiber is currently being marketed as the ultimate health solution for a significant number of people, simply eating more of it actually accelerates gut damage and inflammation rather than fixing it.
It is literally the exact opposite of what everyone is telling you to do.
Welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Stay informed with quick, easy-to-listen summaries of our latest articles, perfect for when you're on the go. No reading required. Subscribe for free at mercola.com for the latest health insights.
Hello, and welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. In our deep dive today, we are unpacking what has to be the biggest vibe shift in the wellness world over the last decade. I mean, for the longest time, protein was the undisputed king. It was all about macros, gains, steak. But recently, the king has been totally dethroned.
Yeah, it really has. There's been this complete changing of the guard. Fiber is officially the new obsession.
It's everywhere. We're seeing industry giants, influencers, they're all pivoting hard. They're pushing fiber for weight loss, for heart health, longevity, you name it. But and this is why we're here today. There's a dark side to this trend. In the source material we're looking at, they call it the fiber paradox.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, eating these theoretically perfect foods makes them feel like absolute garbage.
It's a cruel irony, really. You know, you're trying to do the right thing, you load up on lentils, and suddenly you're bloated, you're exhausted, and heavily inflamed. So our mission today is to explain exactly why that happens. We're going to break down the biology of why fiber backfires, and then map out a specific protocol to introduce it safely.
Which I love, because usually the advice out there is just, eat more, try harder. And if you bloat, well, it's somehow your fault.
Yeah.
But let's look at the market first. I was reading a report on PepsiCo recently.
Oh, right, the Ramon LaGuardia interview?
He explicitly said, and I quote, "Fiber will be the next protein." When the CEO of a snack giant says that, I mean, you know the money's moving.
Oh, it's a massive signal. It's a gold rush right now. They've looked at the data, and consumers are shifting away from just building muscle, and they're moving toward gut health and GLP-1 style weight loss. So just like we saw with the protein craze, where you suddenly had protein-fortified cookies and water, we're seeing those reformulations start right now. Everything is getting a fiber boost.
But here's the reality check for everyone listening. Despite the marketing and despite the influencers putting beans in their smoothies, are we actually eating enough of it?
Not even close. The data is incredibly stark. In the UK, for example, and the US is very similar, something like 96% of adults fail to meet the recommended intake.
96%.
Yeah. The target is roughly 30 grams a day. The average person is getting maybe 16 grams.
So we're functioning at half capacity.
At best.
Yeah.
And the downstream effects of that gap, they are real. We aren't just talking about bathroom habits here. We're talking about blood sugar instability, those midday energy crashes, and creeping systemic inflammation markers.
Okay, so clearly we have a deficiency. But before we get to why the solution isn't just buying a tub of fiber powder and chugging it, we should probably clarify how fiber actually works. Because it's not just roughage moving through the pipes, right?
Right. It works through multiple biological pathways. You basically have three main types. First, there's fermentable fiber. This acts as fuel for your gut bacteria. The bacteria actually ferment it to produce these beneficial compounds called short-chain fatty acids.
Which are crucial for gut health.
Essential. Then you have insoluble fiber, which is what most people think of. That adds bulk to keep waste moving. And finally, viscous fiber. That one forms a gel and slows down sugar absorption to prevent insulin spikes.
And what's fascinating in the sources is how this ties into the gut-brain connection. We're seeing a direct link between fiber intake and mental health.
Absolutely. When you eat prebiotic fibers, you feed specific bacteria that send calming signals up the vagus nerve to the brain. It can literally lower anxiety. They've even seen specific benefits for older adults where improved cognitive performance is directly linked to that better gut health and metabolic stability.
It's incredible. But this brings us right back to the fiber paradox. Because if it does all these amazing things, why does a bowl of lentils energize one person and just incapacitate another?
Right. It all comes down to the biological mechanism, specifically the environment of the gut itself. We have to talk about the mucus layer.
The mucus layer, it sounds, well, unappealing, but I assume it's important.
Crucial. Think of it like a demilitarized zone. Your gut lining is protected by this layer of mucus, which is roughly the thickness of a credit card. In a healthy system, your beneficial bacteria graze on the fiber you eat. They're happy, they're fed, everything is fine. But what happens when you starve them?
They die off.
Worse, they get hungry. And when they don't get fiber from your diet, they start looking for alternative fuel sources. They literally start eating the house.
Wait, they eat the mucus lining itself.
They consume the protective barrier. They thin it out. Now, imagine someone with a thinned, compromised barrier, maybe from years of poor diet or chronic stress, and they decide to get healthy and just dump a massive high-fiber salad into that system.
The bacteria are already aggressive. The wall is thin. That sounds like a recipe for a massive issue.
It's like throwing gasoline on a smoldering fire. It doesn't heal them, it fuels the fire. And this is where we see the release of something called lipopolysaccharide, or LPS.
I've seen that term a lot in the research. It's usually called an endotoxin, right?
That's the one. Think of LPS as a chemical alarm signal that lives inside the cell walls of certain bacteria. As long as it stays in the gut, it's fine. But if that mucus barrier is compromised or gone, it leaks into the bloodstream.
And that triggers the immune system.
Immediately. Your body sees LPS in the blood and thinks, we are under attack. It launches a systemic inflammatory response. That is exactly why people get brain fog, joint pain, or massive fatigue after a quote-unquote healthy, high-fiber meal. You aren't digesting. You're fighting an infection that isn't really there.
That is terrifying, actually. But it explains so much about why some people just feel off all the time despite eating super clean. You're trying to do the right thing, but because the barrier is down, you're essentially poisoning yourself with inflammation.
That is exactly what is happening. And this is why the just eat more fiber advice is so incredibly dangerous for people with existing gut issues.
And I assume the food industry isn't exactly helping with this. We talked about them jumping on the bandwagon earlier.
No, they're complicating it. We're seeing this industry trap where they try to reformulate junk food. So they take a protein bar or a pasta that is fundamentally ultra-processed, and they just add isolated fibers to it. Things like inulin or beta-glucans.
Oh, the fortified trap. Now with 10 grams of fiber.
Right. But experts like Sandra Kirsten from Cornell are very clear on this.
So let's get practical. We know we need fiber eventually. It feeds the good bugs. It makes those short-chain fatty acids. But we can't just dive in. There has to be a protocol.
There is a specific biological roadmap, and if you try to skip steps, you will fail.
Okay, let's walk through it for the listeners. Step 1.
Step 1 is delay and stabilize. And this is hard for people who want a quick fix. If you have bloating, erratic stools, or fatigue after meals, do not increase your fiber yet. The goal is to calm the inflammation first so that the gut barrier, that mucus layer, can actually heal.
So stop the bleeding before you start physical therapy, meaning stop the massive salads.
Stop the salads, stop the fiber supplements. You cannot rebuild the house while it is currently on fire.
Okay, so we're eating white rice, maybe some peeled cooked apples, keeping the energy up and the residue down. When do we start the actual fiber reintroduction? Because that's step 3.
Step 3 is gradual reintroduction, and the order here matters immensely. You don't just jump straight into a 3-bean chili.
Definitely not. That sounds like a nightmare for a healing gut.
It would be. You start with root vegetables, things like carrots and beets, and they must be well cooked, never raw. You want them soft enough to mash with a fork. Once those are tolerated, you move to non-starchy vegetables. Then, eventually, you move to starchy vegetables like squash.
It's like training wheels for your digestion.
It really is. And then the 4th stage of reintroduction is a very specific type called resistant starch. The best examples are cooked and cooled white potatoes or green bananas.
Cooked and cooled. Why does it have to be cooled?
Because when you cook a potato and then let it cool down, the starch structure actually changes. It retrogrades. It becomes resistant to digestion in the stomach and small intestine, so it makes it all the way to the colon, where it feeds specific bacteria that produce butyrate. And butyrate is the magic fuel that heals the colon lining.
That is a brilliant tip. So a potato salad, naturally, without the industrial mayo, is actually medicine in this specific context.
If prepared correctly, yes, absolutely. And then, and only then, do you introduce beans, legumes, and whole grains. Those are the hardest to digest, so they come last when your tolerance is finally high.
I think most people do that completely backward. They start in the beans and grains because that's what they think fiber means.
And that is exactly why they fail and end up in pain.
Now, there is a step 4 in this roadmap. And looking at the research, this seems to be the critical missing link that almost nobody talks about when discussing fiber tolerance. It's about cellular repair. And this brings us to the usual suspects.
Seed oils.
We cannot ignore them. But help me connect the dots here. I understand that industrial seed oils, soybean, corn, canola, sunflower are inflammatory generally. But Why do they specifically stop me from digesting a carrot?
It's fundamentally an energy problem. Digestion is incredibly energy intensive. The cells lining your gut, the epithelial cells, turn over every few days. They work harder than almost any other cell in your body.
They're the front line.
Right. And to do that massive amount of work, they need their mitochondria, the power plants of the cell, firing on all cylinders. Excess linoleic acid, or LA, from those industrial seed oils, accumulates in the cell membranes and essentially gunks up the machinery. It breaks the electron transport chain.
So if my mitochondria are sluggish because they're loaded with seed oils, my gut cells simply don't have the energy to maintain that protective mucus barrier.
You got it. You can eat the most perfect, gradual fiber protocol in the world, but if the cellular engine is broken because of seed oils, the wall won't hold. The gut just struggles to handle the increased metabolic work required to digest that fiber.
So we absolutely need to strip those out, explicitly removing the soybean, corn, and canola oils. But what do we replace them with? Because we still need fat for energy.
You need fats that support cellular resilience. You want to replace those highly unstable industrial oils with stable, traditional fats. Grass-fed butter, ghee, or tallow.
Butter and tallow. It's almost going back to an ancestral way of eating just to support modern digestion.
It is. Because healthy mitochondria are required to maintain the gut barrier. It's just a biological fact. If you swap the seed oils for butter or tallow, you give your cells the structural integrity they need to handle the fiber you are about to start eating.
This connects everything so perfectly. It's not just about the fiber, it's about the machinery processing the fiber.
Precisely. Biology is an interconnected web. You can't pull one string without moving a whole thing.
So let's summarize this fiber paradox for everyone listening. Fiber is powerful fuel. We aren't denying that. But it is only powerful if the engine, your gut, is clean and functioning.
That is the ultimate takeaway. If you put high-octane fuel in a broken engine, you just destroy the engine faster. You have to repair the engine first.
And that means slowing down. It means defying the low-carb trend for a minute to get enough glucose, roughly 250 grams, to build your mucus layer. It means stripping out the seed oils entirely so your mitochondria can actually run the factory.
That is the path forward. It takes patience, but it is the only way to get the benefits of fiber without the inflammatory backlash.
It's funny, we started this by talking about a massive marketing trend, fiber is the new protein. But we've ended up in a very different place, talking about cellular biology and mitochondrial health.
Which is usually where the truth lies. Marketing simplifies things, biology complicates them. But if you understand the biology, you can make it work for you, rather than being a victim of the latest trend.
I love that. Here is a final provocative thought for you to carry with you today. I want you to look at your healthy diet and ask yourself, are you failing because of a lack of willpower? Or are you failing because you are focusing purely on the nutrient, the fiber, rather than the environment, your gut wall, that it lands in?
Yeah.
Is it time to stop forcing the fiber and start healing the barrier?
That is the question that changes everything.
Thank you for listening to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. See you in the next episode. Looking for trusted health wisdom you can hold in your hands? Discover the life-changing books of Dr. Mercola at joyhousepublishing.com. These titles bring decades of natural health research into practical steps for better energy, stronger immunity, and clearer thinking. Take charge of your health with guidance rooted in science and experience. Visit joyhousepublishing.com now and claim your bonuses while they are available.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.